So I've been currently at 6th Fleet for about 2 weeks and a half. I'm coming up from 4th Fleet down in Jacksonville.
So traded one fleet for another. Okay.
That's right.
Trade
That's
up.
right. But as Fleet Kemp said, I mean, this is the most kinetic, relevant fleet that there is today. I mean, there is no doubt about it. In the last few days, I've been traveling to Sigonella. Yesterday, I went with Fleet to Gaeta, and just getting to see a feel for the land. And I'll tell you, there's quite a lot going on. Our sailors are doing great stuff, and it's just it's a great opportunity to be able to engage and see our people doing just great stuff.
I mean, you're saying 2 weeks and you've already been running around traveling.
Right.
So who have you met with?
So I went to the Mount Whitney yesterday and was able to not only see, and I'm sure Fleet will talk a little bit more about that, our Eurasia partnership.
That's right, last week. Or this week, earlier, I saw video highlights. They're working on it.
So I was able to see a little bit of that and then meet with the crew, a lot of the crew of the Mount Whitney, and spend a little bit of time with the CMC, who kind of took me to school on how real operations are going on based on what it's coming in the next future. And then in Sigonella, of course, I met with CTF 67 and the base leadership and got to see the lay of the land and some of the things that are going on down that side. So very productive week.
And when you were in SIG, you had a chance to see the Reaper, and I get a chance to see some what our Air Force partners are doing as well, right?
Completely amazing stuff, and I will tell you, as I told Fleet, that was brand new to me. So to be able to experience that piece and see our capabilities as we move out, that's pretty exciting times.
How was Nancy Estrada and the base team doing out there?
Oh my goodness, phenomenal. I mean, Master Chief, as a matter of fact, not only did we get to see operations, but at the same time, they were celebrating Hispanic heritage, and they had a complete, huge feast full of sailors, full of, airmen and soldiers and Marines in the galley, and they were just having a nice feast together, and I got the chance to be able to cut the cake and listen to some of their feedback. So I mean, nice. I tell you, it was 3 hours packed of impact. That's how I call it.
And they're the NAE award winners, so their galley is like the award-winning galley.
Oh, really?
So the NAE is the high-end award for food service, and NAVSUP, Navy Supply, are the ones who provide that award, and they judge, and they. But here's the deal. So Sigonella was the winner. Runner-up, Rhoda. What you want to do with us?
Wow.
I mean, so that goes back to impact is not only kinetic. It is across the board, and it goes back to what I've been saying for years, and that is that every rating leads to lethality. And so the opportunity to celebrate those accomplishments in the NAE Award is equal or tantamount to Battle E. And that Advanced to Vacancy Board is the result of a shortfall that we have on leaders at sea. And so we the Navy, Chief of Navy Personnel Admiral Burke and his team have come up with a pilot program that will allow a senior chief or a chief to look at a billet that's super hard, and we're having a difficult time getting people to put their hand up and say, I'm willing to go do the hard job. We created a board for a group of sailors who volunteered to do those jobs, and then we selected them. And a senior chief very shortly will be going to fill a master chief billet and get master chief pay and wear the rank in that position based on their qualification. I think that's pretty exciting.
It is exciting. I mean, to be able to have the opportunity, I mean, to be able to go lead, especially at sea at this moment, because you're needed.
Right.
So when you hear the word you are needed to go lead at sea, I mean, you should be jumping all over at it. On the side note, I tell you, if we don't have a whole bunch of people jumping at this opportunity,
right.
We have to
rethink and
I mean, because we're there's an old phrase used someplace else, not here. Ready to fight tonight. Well, we're ready to fight. And in fact, we're not ready. We're fighting. And so we need people, there's an urgency with which some things need to be done. And to get leaders in place in tough positions, that's an urgency. And so if there are sailors, senior chiefs, master chiefs who are either watching on the internet machine, or perhaps they'll be watching on YouTube later when we post it, they should be thinking, I need to be a part of that.
That's correct.
If y'all were sitting that board, what are some qualifications that you would be looking for?
Yeah.
I was able to sit at the senior chief board this past year, right? I was the senior enlisted leader for that particular board, and I will tell you, I will always say that it is a very fair process. And to look at if JJ Gonzalez had to look at one aspect, and it's a simple aspect, it's leadership. It's how much and what you're doing on leading our people to do greatness. How are you preparing them to lead? How are you preparing them to fight? And believe it or not, you can write to that on the evaluations. You can express that, in how you write your evaluation. So I look a lot at leadership. I think it's a cliche when you say, well, what is leadership? When you can say that you are training, that you are leading a repair locker, that you are a section leader, all of the small things that drives you to leadership, I think that's an important aspect to me.
Absolutely. I mean, that's sustained superior performance. Okay, we expect that. And then how are you, creating an environment of growth, for your sailors and, leading those teams. And here's the deal too. A lot of people get dissuaded, or they feel like, oh, I have to go onto this type of platform. I have to go to this type of. No, you lead where you are. If you're sitting on shore duty, or you're sitting in some job that people don't think is hard, maybe you're in a shipyard, there is an opportunity to lead sailors. And when you do it at a high level, you write to that in that evaluation. We can see, it's amazing how you look at evals. You can see that. You can see those folks who are getting after it. And so we just do that.
If I may, one of the things that you said really has caught my attention, because you're talking to a fleet master chief that's been in aircraft carriers, right? And it finally went to the Mason as the command master chief, but big decks to a small deck. And you often hear people say you have to go and lead large groups of people in order to prove that you're a leader, and it's not true. And now if you're a young sailor today and you're hearing fleet master chief said, hey, it doesn't matter. It's small group, big groups. It's what you do with that group. That is a powerful statement. I hope that statement sticks with all of you.
Sailor 360, part of laying the keel, right? So there are three portions of laying the keel. It is the enlisted leader development, Sailor 360, and then initiation. So enlisted leader development is the same as what we used to call petty officer NDOC, or petty officer Petty Officer Selected Leadership Continuum. There we go. And so, he who owns the acronyms is the king, right? So we are standing up, training the trainer for this new enlisted leader development. And what's going to happen is you go off and you talk about leadership at a higher level than we did just with Petty Officer NDOC, come back to your command, continue that conversation. And so continuing the conversation is Sailor 360. Now, days gone by, CPO 365 Phase 1 was just what the name said. Chief Petty Officer 365 Phase 1, teaching first classes about instructions and history and heritage, and why we do business the way we do. Now with Sailor 360, we're encompassing the entire command. So we're inviting the junior sailors as well as officers into a peer-to-peer environment, which is shown or known and proven that we learn better that way. So we come in and we talk peer-to-peer things, and that goes to if let's just talk about ships, right? Let's say you're getting ready for in-serve. You have Sailor 360 program where everyone learns exactly what in-serve is and what your role is in doing that. Preparing for deployment, okay, we're going to talk to everyone about what it means to wear the appropriate liberty apparel and appropriate behavior while you're deployed. So Sailor 360 peer-to-peer opportunities, and it should still be going. One of the our avid listeners, Joel Rodriguez, sent me a note saying, hey, it should be, what are we doing right now? We should be getting after it. There is no stop when it comes down to Sailor 360. Initiation comes, but we even through initiation, we should still be doing Sailor 360 because again, it encompasses everyone. So I don't know about you, JJ, but I had we changed the name of CPO 365 on my DDG to Leadership 365 because we wanted everybody involved.
You know, when to bring it down to the Sixth Fleet level and just talk about one of our bosses' key things, which is increased warfighting readiness, right? So when I look at Sailor 360, it's all about fostering a learning environment for our people. And it's what an opportunity for us to be able to impact not just senior sailors, but all the way down to the most junior sailor to understand that readiness, it's crucial when it comes to war fighting.
Right.
And every program, whether it's Liberty, whether it's how to do 3M, how to do maintenance, so on and so forth, how it affects the lethality of that command. So I'm super excited. I jump in that wagon the minute that he came out. I, like you, tried to involve back when it was CPO 365, bring the E5s and the E4s into training, because it's not just about the E6 level. It has to be all across the board. It's almost where you have to be flatline when it comes to training.
Right.
And I guess it improves our warfighting capabilities. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
You know, we've experienced some tragedy, our fair share of tragedy across the Navy, right? So last year we lost 17 enlisted sailors at sea. One of the things that we are doing in this theater is we'll go out and we'll visit a ship. And so JJ, he'll be making his way out to ships. I'll go. Sometimes maybe we'll get a chance to go together. We'll visit the ships and we'll talk to the crew just to get an assessment of the tone. You know, I went on board the Bulkley and had a chance to talk to their CEO who I had served with before, and he said, hey, go wherever you like, talk to whomever you like, and just see how it goes. And my affirmation to him was that I'll talk to you before I go and tell the Admiral, just so you know what I see. And so I went down to the lower level. They had a CHT casualty, and so there I am down in the engineering spaces, working. Actually, I think that was on board New York, but I'm down, on the 6th deck, working with those HTs as they're clearing out the CHT casualty, and there was this young sailor down there, and he was like, so what you really doing here, Fleet? And we just had a conversation about how things are going, what your circadian sleep patterns like, how often do you really train, how you get along with the Marines who are embarked on board. And I was able to hear the truth about what's happening, and not just what's on the trifold flyer that they're handing out the door.
Well, I mean, when people come for visits and inspections, it's gosh,
you send all the misfits out to the island, right?
Yeah,
and then you just put all of your Sailor of the Year and award winners out front. I'm working my way to somebody who's going to tell me the truth, and that is oftentimes the way we can truly assess what the truth is happening on board ships. And having a level of care for our sailors is another big separator for leaders.
Our sailors expect to be trained.
Right.
That's really the bottom line. So we have to have a thoughtful approach to training. There is a level of expectation. So we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. It's a simple metaphor that if you quite understand, you'll move out forward. Fleet touched on the fact of our 17 sailors, right? And when you look back as a destroyer man, because I will always be a destroyer man, I've served in all destroyers on a cruiser. I've never had the opportunity to serve on an aircraft carrier, but I will tell you that, to see the John S. McCain and the Fitzgerald go through what they went through was painful enough for me. I personally lost 2 sailors that I personally knew. But I will also tell you that there was a lot of learning to do because our sailors fought that ship.
Right.
So when you look at the positive side of it, we know that training is working. We just need to get better. We need to do a little bit better in training. But the level that we're at today shows that our sailors can fight the ship.
Right.
That we are ready. And now how do we continue to foster that? And CPO 360, it's hopefully, a Sailor 360, hopefully it's going to help us keep moving in the right direction.
What is important is that we are, as leaders, that we are approachable.
Yes.
Now, there's without question, we have a hierarchy that is extremely clear. We have a chain of command that is very clear. There's formality, yes, that is very clear. But when you develop relationships and a young leader shows that they are approachable to another leader, then it gives an opportunity to head off, some behavior that might end in a bad way. And it's not just young people, by the way. We're talking about veterans, or we're talking about senior people as well. Two very good friends of mine, Master Chief, Command Master, both of them Command Master Chiefs, committed suicide. And so suicide is a personal thing to me, and it is a personal concern of mine. And so if there is an opportunity to have a conversation, develop a relationship with people so that they have someone to talk to before they start trending towards something as drastic as suicide, then I think we should do that. I oftentimes say that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so if we express that measure of care like the true warfighting family that we are, brothers and sisters in arms, then we'll know, and perhaps we can drive down those disastrous numbers of suicide.
Last week, Fleet, as I was watching you speak to the selectees, you talked to them about how you take care of yourself personally, physically, professionally, and mentally. And I will tell you, when it comes to suicide, I, like you, it's touched me in the personal side and in the professional side. But I've also realized that as a leader, as a chief petty officer, as a command master chief, I have the ability to really see and understand what our sailors are going through, and us to be able to open ourselves to feedback. It isn't a weakness for us to say, I need help. For example, I am not afraid to say, hey, I'm down on one knee and I need some help. And I think that's what has helped me to be here today,
right
beside you, Fleet. I'm standing right here because I've had my hits, and I've had that.
It's life.
Yes, but to be able to say, hey, I need help, and to be able to understand that when our people needs help, we need to help them out. We need to be able to listen. We need to stop the thinking of, you're weak, or for us to think that people will think that we're weak because we need help. I think it's essential. Our job is hard. Here in 6th Fleet, and I know I keep taking it here, but here the operational tempo of our people is extremely high.
Right.
So as our sailors, as they say, they need help, we need to listen, because it takes one person to help.
That's right.
Yeah, it's that simple.
Having the opportunity, one of the very fulfilling and satisfying things about being a leader is the chance to help people.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to sailors who might be trending in the wrong direction, to be able to step in with them and perhaps share something personal that happened to us, and then to say, and you too can overcome, is humbling. And it takes a measure of vulnerability and a measure of energy, to do that. So for me to think about a very dark time that I lived through, it takes energy from me, but I'm willing to do that if it's going to help shine a light for somebody else to get out of the darkness. So I think we, as leaders, we should focus on doing that, and then put them in the right direction. Because sometimes it might just be too hard for old Kemp to help you.
Yeah,
and so I'll go with you to this office or whatever.
Just to add a little bit there, just so everybody knows that are listening, last FY17 we had 74 suicides. 74. 65 were on active duty side, and 9 were in the reserve. It's a significant, huge number.
Yeah.
And right now we're trending that way again. So we're not talking about this because it's not serious. One is tough enough, and we just gotta continue to do a little bit better. That's a pretty large number.
And we should, and as we're doing that, we're having that conversation. There's a couple people making comments on the Facebook live stream. We should remember to console one another in the situation where someone has experienced a loss. And even if that loss was time ago, these friends of mine, I'm thinking about them right now, somewhat emotionally, but I'm celebrating the life that we shared together. And so to extend condolences isn't a matter of grabbing a tissue and dabbing your eye. To condole is to come alongside someone and help them make their way through it. And so we should be mindful of that as well.